Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I need you to understand something before we get into today's story. There are two kinds of people in this world. There are people who, when they create something difficult and then hand it to someone else to deal with, feel absolutely no guilt whatsoever about the chaos they have caused. And then there are people who, when confronted with the consequences of the difficult thing they created, have to sit there and take the accountability in front of millions of people while everyone around them loses their mind laughing. Jungkook is both of those people simultaneously. And on March 23, 2026, at the Spotify x BTS Swimside event in New York City, the story of what happened in the recording studio during the making of Hooligan came out, and the internet has not fully recovered since. So let's get into every single detail of this story, because it is one of the funniest and most revealing behind-the-scenes moments of the entire Ararang era, and it deserves a full and proper breakdown. First, let me set the scene for where this story was told, because the context adds a whole other layer of entertainment to everything that followed. BTS and Spotify announced their Swimside partnership campaign, which included pop-up events worldwide, in-app experiences, and exclusive material from the group. The Swimside event in New York at Pier 17 was one of the crown jewels of this campaign, an intimate gathering where BTS performed and interacted with fans and media in a setting that was significantly more personal and relaxed than a full-scale arena concert or a formal television appearance. And when BTS is in a relaxed setting, when the pressure of a live broadcast or a choreographed press junket is removed and they are just 7 people sitting together talking about their music, that is when the real stories come out. That is when the things that happened in the recording studio, the things that the members said they would never tell anyone, somehow end up being told anyway. And this was one of those times. RM revealed the funny behind-the-scenes story of Jungkook's viral hooligan laugh during the Spotify x BTS Swimside event in New York. The moment quickly spread across social media. And when I say it spread quickly, I mean within hours of it happening, every fan account, every K-pop news outlet, every entertainment media platform that covers BTS was posting clips and reactions. Because the story RM told was not just funny. It was the specific kind of funny that only exists when you have spent years working with someone and have witnessed them be responsible for something that made your life temporarily much harder than it needed to be. Now let me tell you about the song itself first, because understanding Hooligan is essential to understanding why the ha 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 moment is so significant. Hooligan is one of the most interesting tracks on Ararang, sonically speaking a rap song that blends a strings arrangement and the sound of sharp blades clashing. The song is endlessly catchy. The group's vocal line, made up of Jin, Jimin, V and Jungkook, lend their voices to the sung-through part in the chorus. And at the heart of the chorus, repeated multiple times throughout the song in a way that burrows into your brain and refuses to leave, is the line that started all of this. That ha 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 hooligan sequence that appears across the refrain and chorus sections of the track. If you have listened to Hooligan, and at this point, given that Ararang has broken multiple streaming records, the chances are very high that you know exactly which part one I'm talking about. It is the part that makes you feel unhinged in the best possible way. The part that sounds simultaneously chaotic and perfectly constructed. The part that, once it is in your head, is simply there forever. According to RM, the now viral ha 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 laugh heard throughout Hooligan was actually created by fellow member Jungkook. RM explained that the ad-lib was not as easy to perform as it sounds. The laugh is delivered in rhythmic triplets, requiring perfect timing with the beat. And this is the first thing I want you to really understand, because I think a lot of people hear that ha 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 and think that it's just laughing. How hard can laughing be? And the answer, when the laughing has to be executed in rhythmic triplets with perfect timing against a beat that is already doing complex and layered things sonically, it is significantly harder than it sounds. Music is deceptive like that. The things that feel the most effortless and natural when you listen to them are often the things that required the most technical precision to execute. And the ha 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 in Hooligan, despite sounding like something that could happen spontaneously in any studio session, is actually a piece of rhythmic writing that demands an enormous amount of control and timing to deliver correctly. So Jungkook came up with this line. He had the idea. He heard the beat, he heard where the song needed to go, and he thought, what this moment needs is a rhythmic laugh sequence that lands perfectly on the triplet pattern of the music. And in the creative context of a studio session, that is a genuinely brilliant instinct. The line works. Everyone who has heard Hooligan agrees that the line works. It is arguably one of the most memorable and immediately recognizable moments on the entire Arirang album. But here is the thing about coming up with a brilliant idea in a studio: somebody has to actually record it. And in BTS, where the writing credits on a song determine which members are most involved in bringing that song to life, writing a line means being responsible for that line. And the members who had to record that line had thoughts. RM said, "I really hated it because it was super hard to record it." Let me pause on this for a second, because this is Kim Namjoon, a man who has been writing and recording music professionally since he was a teenager, a man whose technical command of rhythm and flow is considered one of the best in the Korean music industry, a man who has recorded hundreds of songs across more than a decade of BTS albums and solo projects. And this man, this deeply experienced and technically accomplished artist, said he hated the line that Jungkook wrote because it was super hard to record. That is how demanding the ha 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 sequence is when you actually have to execute it. It is not just about laughing convincingly. It is about laughing in a way that is rhythmically precise, tonally consistent, and timed perfectly against a beat that has very little room for error. Miss the rhythmic placement by even a fraction, and the whole sequence falls apart. And RM, who is not someone who finds recording easy things difficult, found this genuinely challenging. When Jungkook first attempted the sequence during recording, the result was far from smooth. RM recalled how the singer struggled on his first try before finally getting the rhythm right, which left the group laughing in the studio. Now here is where the story gets absolutely perfect. Because Jungkook, the man who wrote this line, the man who conceived of this rhythmic laugh sequence, the man whose creative instinct produced this moment, also could not execute it perfectly on the first attempt. He struggled. He had to work at it. And the other members, who had already been wrestling with this same sequence in their own recording sessions, got to watch Jungkook discover firsthand exactly how difficult the thing he invented actually was. The justice of that moment is almost poetic. You made us do this. Now you have to do this. And you are finding out exactly what you put us through. The studio reaction, apparently, was immediate and explosive. Members who had been quietly harboring their own frustrations with the ha 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 sequence got to experience the very specific satisfaction of watching the person responsible for their frustrations suddenly share in it. And of course, because this is BTS and because these 7 people have spent years developing the precise comedic chemistry that makes their unscripted moments so entertaining, the laughter in the studio when Jungkook struggled on his first attempt was apparently significant. This was not a polite chuckle. This was earned, justified, deeply felt group laughter at the expense of the person who had caused all of the difficulty in the first place. And this is what RM chose to share with the world at the Swimside event in New York. Not the polished story of how Hooligan came together beautifully. Not the narrative of creative vision executed perfectly. The actual story, the one where Jungkook wrote something genuinely difficult, made everyone else record it, and then had to face the consequences of his own creative choices in a recording booth. Jungkook's ha 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 version was described as too cute, which, for anyone who knows Jungkook's vocal quality, is both an incredibly accurate description and also the funniest possible way to describe what happens when someone who sings with the precision and control that Jungkook has attempts to perform a rhythmic laugh sequence that they themselves invented. Too cute. That is what happened. The chaos became cute. The difficulty became adorable. And the internet, upon hearing this description, immediately needed to hear the sequence again with this context in mind. Now let's talk about what this story reveals beyond just the comedy, because I think there is actually something really interesting here about how BTS functions as a creative unit. Jungkook played a key role in 4 songs on Arirang, including Hooligan. That is not an insignificant contribution. For songs on a 14-track album means that Jungkook's creative fingerprints are all over this project in ways that go far beyond his vocal performances. He is not just executing other people's ideas. He is generating ideas that become the most memorable moments on certain tracks. And the fact that one of those ideas, the ha 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 sequence, was both beloved by listeners and genuinely difficult for the other members to record tells you something important about the way Jungkook's musical instincts work. The song Hooligan was written by a team that included Jungkook, RM, J-Hope, Suga, and several outside collaborators. Which means this was a genuinely collaborative writing session where multiple members were contributing ideas and responding to each other's contributions in real time. And in that context, Jungkook's decision to introduce the ha 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 rhythmic sequence would have been a moment where everyone in the room either immediately understood why it worked or had to be convinced. Based on RM's account of what happened in the recording process, it is clear that the idea landed, everyone recognized its quality, but the execution was a whole separate conversation. The creative vision and the practical reality of recording are two very different things, and Hooligan is a perfect case study in the gap between them. The reception to Hooligan on YouTube and social media reflected a fairly consistent pattern across the ARMY community. The transition from J-Hope's verse into Jungkook's vocal delivery was widely described as one of the most satisfying moments on the album. The repetitive refrain section also generated significant discussion, with many fans describing it as immediately addictive and clearly designed for live audiences to join in on. And this is the final layer of this story that makes it so complete and so satisfying. The ha 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 sequence that caused so much difficulty in the recording studio, that made RM, one of the most technically accomplished musicians in K-pop, say he genuinely hated it, is also the part of the song that fans cannot stop talking about. It is the part that is immediately addictive. It is the part that is designed for live audiences to participate in. Which means that on the Arirang World Tour, when Jungkook and the rest of BTS perform Hooligan in front of packed stadiums across 34 cities in 23 countries, there are going to be tens of thousands of people at each show screaming that exact sequence back at the stage. The thing that caused studio pain is going to become one of the most electric live moments of the entire tour. Hooligan features a chopped-up string arrangement against clashing swords and soaring vocals from V and Jimin. And when you layer all of that, the strings, the blade sounds, the hip-hop production, the rap verses, the soaring vocal line, against the rhythmic chaos of the ha 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 sequence, what you end up with is a track that should not work as cohesively as it does. It is a song built from elements that have no business being in the same room together, and yet it comes together into something that is genuinely, undeniably, immediately great. And a significant part of that greatness belongs to Jungkook's instinct to introduce a rhythmic laugh sequence that everyone hated recording and everyone loves listening to. That is a very specific kind of creative genius. The kind that does not always feel like genius in the moment, but that reveals itself completely once the song is finished and the world starts responding to it. The swimside moment traveled because it is funny. It is genuinely, universally funny in the way that only real stories from real creative processes can be. There is no manufactured drama here, no promotional narrative being carefully managed. There is just RM telling the truth about what happened in a recording studio, the difficulty, the frustration, the eventual success, the cute version, the group laughing at the person who caused the whole situation, and the internet responding to that truth with exactly the warmth and delight it deserves. This is BTS being human, being funny, being a group that has spent so long together that their creative process is indistinguishable from their personal dynamic. And that is the thing that no other group in music right now quite has in the same way. When April 9th arrives and the Arirang World Tour begins, and when Hooligan gets performed live for the first time in a stadium, the fans who are there are going to scream those ha-ha-has back at the stage with absolutely everything they have. And Jungkook is going to be standing on that stage, delivering the sequence he invented, having survived both the recording process and the public exposure of the recording process, and he is going to do it perfectly. Because that is what he does. He makes the difficult things look effortless. He just needs a few tries in the booth first. And honestly? Same. Thank you so much for watching this all the way through. If this story made you laugh or made you love BTS even more than you already did, which I did not think was possible, but here we are, please hit the like button because it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to know about the ha 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 saga. Subscribe if you are not already here because we are going to be covering every moment of this world tour and every story like this one that comes out of it. Hit the bell so you never miss anything. And drop a comment below. Be honest, can you do the ha 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 in perfect rhythmic triplets? Because based on what RM said, the answer for most of us is no. I will see you in the next one.